There's a question that lingers in the shadowy recesses of the internet, tucked away in anonymous search bars during those sleepless hours, and whispered in hushed tones during those awkward, half-serious chats among friends. It's a question wrapped in layers of urban legends, quiet dread, and an avalanche of dubious advice that's more rumor than reality. What, exactly, happens to your body pinpointing that one unassuming gland, the prostate, when you masturbate every single day? The online echo chambers are rife with dire warnings that it has a fast track to irreversible damage, that it sparks relentless inflammation, or that it edges you perilously closer to the big C. Prostate cancer itself. The scare tactics are relentless, amplified by clickbait headlines and forum threads that thrive on fear. But amid all this noise, what does the unvarnished truth, drawn straight from the annals of rigorous science, actually reveal? I'm here to lay it out for you today, plain and unfiltered. And I can promise you this, the revelation is nothing short of jaw-dropping, a complete inversion of the tales you've been spoon-fed for years. Hang in there with me, because by the end, you'll see why this flips the script on everything you thought you knew. To really unpack this mind-bending reality, we have to start at the foundation, getting up close and personal with the star of our story, the prostate gland. Picture it as this modest, walnut-shaped nugget nestled deep in the male anatomy, a quiet workhorse in the grand machinery of reproduction. Its primary gig, whipping up the milky fluid that acts as semen's trusty sidekick, nourishing those fragile sperm cells, shielding them on their epic journey, and giving the whole package the right consistency to make conception possible. Tucked snugly just below the bladder and right in front of the rectum, it's in a prime spot for both function and fuss. For something so compact, barely the size of a golf ball in younger guys, it punches way above its weight when it comes to a man's overall well-being, particularly as the years stack up and age starts to whisper reminders of vulnerability. That's precisely why it stirs up so much unease. It's not just a gland, it's a lightning rod for worries that hit men where it hurts, both literally and figuratively. You've no doubt stumbled across the folklore that swirls around it like smoke from a bad cigar, in steamy locker rooms after pickup games, or buried in the comment sections of sketchy health blogs. The tired tropes get recycled, that hammering away at self-pleasure too often is like revving an engine until it ceases, supposedly grinding down the prostate into exhaustion, or worse, that it brews up chronic prostatitis, sneaky inflammation that turns everyday comfort into a nagging ordeal of discomfort and urgency. And then there's the granddaddy of them all, the one that sends chills down spines, the notion that frequent solo sessions somehow crank up your odds of prostate cancer, that silent predator lurking in family histories and late-night Google spirals. These aren't idle chit-chat, they're rooted in a primal fear. Prostate cancer isn't some abstract statistic, it's the second most common cancer striking men worldwide, claiming lives and appending families with ruthless efficiency. So when whispers suggest your private habits might be stacking the deck against you, it's no wonder the anxiety takes root, twisting into a knot that's hard to untie. For generations, these specters roamed unchecked, dismissed by some as quaint old wives' tales or veiled moral scoldings masquerading as medical wisdom. Picture the era, dusty textbooks quoting Victorian-era doctors who viewed any excess as a moral failing, their evidence more anecdote than analysis. It was a perfect storm of ignorance and taboo, where science took a backseat to stigma. But then, like a thunderclap in a library, a team of intrepid researchers from one of the globe's most revered academic bastions stepped in to cut through the haze. They weren't content with hunches or hearsay, they rolled up their sleeves for a monumental, no-holds-barred investigation that would span years and enlist thousands. This wasn't a quick poll or a cherry-picked sample, it was a fortress of data, designed to siege the myths and lay bare the facts. And when the dust settled, their discoveries didn't just poke holes in the old narratives, they demolished them, reshaping the dialogue on intimacy, health, and the human body in ways that still ripple today. The verdict: it upended everything, turning fear into revelation and myth into medicine. So, what was this bombshell that rewrote the rules? What did the evidence, cold and compelling, ultimately uncover? The groundbreaking work hailed from none other than Harvard University, that ivory tower beacon synonymous with breakthroughs, zeroing in on the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. This wasn't a fly-by-night experiment, it was an epic saga of science, Shadowing almost 32,000 men over a grueling 18-year stretch, they pored over every detail of these men's lives, their diets, their jobs, their habits, their checkups, building a tapestry of data so intricate it could map the stars. And smack in the middle of it all, ejaculation frequency, tracked not through awkward confessions but via detailed, anonymous questionnaires that captured the raw truth without judgment. When the statisticians crunched the numbers, wielding tools like regression models to tease out patterns from noise, the outcome hit like a plot twist in a thriller. It was the kind of result that makes eyebrows arch and jaws drop. The very essence of "you have to see it to believe it." Here's the crux delivered straight. The study unearthed that men logging higher ejaculation tallies, think 21 or more releases a month, faced a dramatically slashed risk of prostate cancer, clocking in at up to 33% lower than their counterparts who managed just 4 to 7 times in the same span. Pause and let that sink in, because it's worth the double take. More action, whether solo or shared, correlated with meaningfully less danger from the disease that haunts so many. This wasn't some marginal blip. The hazard ratio dipped to 0.67 in their models. A statistical slam dunk signaling real protection. And get this, it flew in the face of every cautionary fable, transforming what was painted as a vice into a virtue. No wear and tear apocalypse, no inflamed doom, instead, a shield forged in the most human of acts. Nor was Harvard a lone voice in the wilderness. Echoing their findings came a powerhouse study from Down Under, spearheaded by Australian researchers at the University of Sydney, which tracked over 2,300 men and mirrored the magic. Frequent ejaculators again showed a 36% risk drop for low-grade cancers, with even steeper benefits against aggressive strains. These weren't outliers, they formed a chorus, backed by meta-analyses in journals like European Urology that pooled data from dozens of cohorts, consistently nodding to the same counterintuitive boon. But why? How on earth could something as straightforward and solitary as daily masturbation or any regular ejaculation wield such sway over a gland's fate? The scientific sleuths didn't stop at "it just does," they dove into the mechanisms, piecing together theories that bridge biology and behavior with elegant precision. The frontrunner, and arguably the most intuitive, is what's dubbed the prostate stagnation hypothesis, a concept as practical as it sounds. Envision the prostate as a labyrinth of minuscule ducts and reservoirs, narrow channels where seminal fluid brews and sperm gets its final prep. Over time, without regular maintenance, these pathways can clog with stagnant buildup, dead cells sloughing off, thickened secretions, and even rogue molecules that might harbor carcinogenic potential. It's like a plumbing system. Gone neglected, stagnation breeds trouble, from mild irritation to cellular rebellion. Enter ejaculation. That rhythmic release acts as a high-pressure flush, sweeping the ducts clean in a surge of fluid and motion. It expels the detritus before it festers, slashing the odds of chronic low-grade inflammation that could snowball into dysplasia or worse. Prostate imaging studies, using techniques like transrectal ultrasound, have even glimpsed this in action, showing reduced glandular congestion in frequent releasers. It's evolution's clever hack, a built-in rinse cycle to keep the works humming. Layer on the second pillar, the cellular turnover theory, a nod to the gritty ballet of life at the microscopic level. Every cell in your body is a temporary tenant, programmed to divide, differentiate, and eventually die off in a choreographed renewal. But division isn't flawless. Each split carries a whisper of risk, a mutation slipping in like a typo in code, potentially priming a cell for cancerous mischief if it accumulates unchecked. In the prostate, where epithelial cells line those fluid-filled nooks, frequent ejaculation may turbocharge this refresh rate. It signals the gland to shed worn-out sentinels more briskly, ushering in fresh recruits via apoptosis and mitosis, programmed death and rebirth in a balanced rhythm. Animal models from rodent prostates dosed with markers back this up, revealing accelerated epithelial cycling post-ejaculation, which dilutes the pool of error-prone veterans. Human biopsies echo the tune. Prostates from high-frequency men show less oxidative stress and DNA damage, hallmarks of healthier turnover. It's not immortality for cells, but a vigilant housekeeping that starves precancerous clones of their foothold. And then there's the wild card, the inflammation-stress axis, weaving in the mind-body tango we often overlook. Chronic inflammation isn't just a buzzword, It's a smoldering fire linked to cancers galore, from colon to lung, by way of cytokines and free radicals that poke and prod cells into frenzy. In the prostate, prostatitis, whether bacterial or the baffling chronic pelvic pain syndrome, fuels this blaze, with studies pegging it as a precursor in up to 10% of cases. But here's the twist: ejaculation isn't merely mechanical, it's a cocktail of neurochemical bliss. That peak unleashes a flood of endorphins, oxytocin, and dopamine, dialing down cortisol's grip, the stress hormone that amps inflammation system-wide. Research from the Kinsey Institute charts how regular sexual activity correlates with lower C-reactive protein levels, a blood marker of body-wide simmer. For the prostate specifically, it means less vascular strain and fewer immune overreactions, creating a cooler, calmer milieu where tumors are less inclined to take root. It's holistic heroism, pleasure as prophylaxis, turning a momentary high into lasting harmony. When you weave these threads, the flush, the refresh, the calm, the portrait sharpens into something profound. Daily masturbation, or any steady ejaculation rhythm, emerges not as a reckless indulgence but as a subtle ally, safeguarding the prostate through a trifecta of clearance, renewal, and equilibrium. It's biology at its most poetic, a reminder that our bodies crave balance, not abstinence. Yet, as exhilarating as this is for the long game warding off cancerous shadow, plenty of you might be nodding along while grappling with the here and now. Those insidious daily gripes that steal your ease, you know the drill, jolting awake at 3 a.m. for the third trip to the bathroom, that nagging fullness in your bladder no matter how many times you go, or the disheartening trickle of a stream that's lost its vigor. These aren't just annoyances, they're thieves of sleep, confidence, and simple joy, often signaling benign prostatic hyperplasia BPH, the non-cancerous swell that hits over half of men by 60. If those ring true, hold tight, I've got a gem to share that cuts right to the chase. There's this eye-opening video deep dive into an ancient Asian protocol, reborn as a vibrant, spring water-infused juice elixir. It zeroes in on what experts call the shadowy prostate blockage, a subtle clog of crystallized minerals and debris that strangles flow at the source. Drawing from time-tested remedies like those in traditional Chinese medicine, think diuretic herbs blended with mineral-rich waters, it promises swift easing of urgency, stronger streams, and nights unbroken by nature's call. No pills, no scalpels, just nature's precision strike. Whip out your phone and scan the QR code flashing on screen. It'll whisk you straight to the presentation, tailored for your device, or for the impatient. I've dropped the unfiltered link as the top comment below. Pop it open in a fresh tab. Absorb the intel. Then swing back. We can't shortchange the full mosaic of prostate wisdom just yet. With that detour navigated, let's zoom out to the broader canvas of keeping your prostate in fighting trim. You might be buzzing now, tempted to crown frequent release as the ultimate talisman of foolproof ward against the odds. And hey, who wouldn't love a silver bullet? But here's the grounded truth, served with a side of caution. It's a powerhouse correlation, not an ironclad cause. In the weeds of epidemiology, that distinction matters. Harvard's odds ratios dazzle, sure, but confounders lurk. Men who ejaculate often might also hit the gym more, munch greens over grease, or dodge the smokescreen of cigarettes, bundling benefits into a virtuous cycle. Randomized trials are tricky, for ethics can't exactly assign celibacy, so we lean on these observational giants, robust yet humble. The upshot: ejaculation frequency shines as a vital cog, but it's embedded in a vast gearworks of wellness. Treat it as a trusty wrench, not the whole toolkit. So what fills out the arsenal? Start with the fork and plate diet's your first line of defense. A daily ritual with outsized punch. Load up on the rainbow berries bursting with antioxidants to neutralize free radicals. Cruciferous champs like broccoli and kale that brim with sulforaphane to detox carcinogens. And the lycopene luminaries, sun-kissed tomatoes, raw or cooked, for max absorption. Juicy watermelons and tart grapefruits that studies in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute tie to a 20 to 30% risk dip. Don't sleep on green tea's catechins, those polyphenol powerhouses that tamp prostate cell proliferation in lab dishes. Or omega-3 salt from wild salmon and flax seeds, which dial down inflammatory prostaglandins per omega. Research in urology. Aim for Mediterranean vibes, olive oil drizzles, nutty handfuls, and fermented kicks like kimchi to foster a gut-prostate axis that's all harmony, no havoc. Next, lace up those sneakers. Exercise isn't optional, it's oxygen for your odds. The prostate thrives on movement, which torches visceral fat and reins in insulin spikes that feed tumor growth. Obesity isn't just a waistline woe, it brews estrogen excess and chronic inflammation. Goosing aggressive cancers by 30% in cohort data. Counter it with 150 minutes weekly of heart-pumping moderates brisk walks threading city parks, cycling loops at dawn, or yoga flows that unkink pelvic tension without the sweat lodge drama. Resistance training seals the deal, squats and deadlifts to fortify the core. Boosting circulation to that lower locale. A Harvard offshoot even pegged for hours of weekly running to a 15% risk / proving sweat equity pays dividends. Steer clear of the toxins. 2. Smoking's a prostate poison. Its carcinogens like an NK infiltrating glandular tissue and hiking odds by 25%. Per Surgeon General tallies, ditch it cold or taper with patches. Your cells will thank you in months. Alcohol's a sly saboteur beyond for drinks daily. It spikes aggressive forms by 20%. So cap at 1 or 2 reds for resveratrol perks without the pour. Hydration's your quiet hero. 2 liters of water flushes toxins. Easing BPH symptoms and observational logs, yet crowning it all is vigilance the doctor's door. Not regularly. No regimen rivals early detection, PSA tests. That simple blood prick flag elevations before symptoms scream, catching 80% of locals when cure rates soar past 99%. Start chats at 40 if families in the mix, 50 otherwise. Digital rectal exams pair up for the full scan. It's not dread, it's dominion. Turning what if into we got this. And so, we loop back to the spark that lit this tale. What does daily masturbation truly wrought upon your prostate? The staggering verity, etched in elite science from Harvard halls to Sydney labs. Is this far from the villainy of yore? It's a benevolent force. A natural balm that may fortify your gland against time's toll. Not a panacea, my no solo act supplants salads, strides, or screenings, but a compelling thread in the tapestry, urging us to embrace our body's rhythms without shame, a vibrant erotic life. Masturbation included, stands as comrade, not culprit in the quest for enduring vitality. If this unmasked myth sparked something in you, craving more dissections of Brol or through the lens of lab coats, do me a solid, smash that like. It fuels the fire. Subscribe, bell on for the next salvo. And your turn, spill the myths gnawing at you, from balding baloney to testosterone tall tales. Comments await. Stay vital, stay inquisitive, and catch you on the flip side.